Disclaimer. Before we start this video, I love my wife.
How is it sexism when we have no barriers today? So we can
Who
pick
has
what
no
we want to
barriers?
pick.
Who doesn't have barriers? Women don't have barriers?
Women, yeah. What's
We have
stopping
no
you? You can do
barriers.
whatever you want. What's
I
stopping
can
you?
or you can?
What's stopping you?
And with that, the crowd goes silent. Imagine the difficulty in answering a question like that. Hey, brothers and sisters, it's your boy BC. Welcome back to another Based LDS video. And as we get started here, in case you couldn't tell, this is a panel on feminism. And this panel is brought together by Vice. Vice is a hard left, very progressive leaning outlet. And they bring these panels on and they talk for hours about whatever subject. And then they cut it down to like a 45-minute video. And as much as they don't like the conservatives on here, the conservatives always win. No matter the editing. The only way they could have a conservative not win is to edit it so they're picking their nose throughout the entire discussion and say, what? And give no real answers to anything. And so I feel bad for Vice because every time they make these videos, they take the L. They take the L. So I'm going to do these videos because I do think critical theory is important. I think it's important to unmask the ideology of the devil. This is the counter ideology to the gospel of Christ, where our core identities are child of the covenant, child of God, disciple of Christ. Their core identities have to do with all the outward, non-important projections. Do your genitals dingle or dangle? What color is your skin? How do you see yourself? How tall are you? How short are you? It's amazing. All these things they'll try and jump on, and you'll see that here, because what you're going to learn through this video is feminism is dead, but the feminist can't admit it. And so they use feminism to glom on to other things in the Oppression Olympics. And the Oppression Olympics is this: the more negative things you have about you, and it's self-imposed views of negativity, the more you can count up on being a victim of oppression, the more you're likely to win the Olympics of oppression. And that's why you'll see people turn on each other, because they're suddenly at odds to find out who's on top of the Oppression Olympics, who's on top of the victim hierarchy, who's the most oppressed. That's who wins here. So, again, I love my wife. I don't hate women. I hate feminism. And I'm here to attack the idea, not the people. Sometimes the people. Okay, here we are. Here's the start. And I want to tell you, this panel is indeed made up of a very diverse group of people. Here in the front, Layla Gray, conservative. She does not speak a lot in this video. Behind her in the purple, this is Pearl. She has a channel called Pearly Things or Just Pearly Things. She's pretty based as far as how reality goes. I don't know if she's a conservative, definitely a libertarian, definitely anti-SJW, anti-woke. This is Sydney Watson. I have followed her channel now for about 6 or 7 years. She's dual citizenship, Australian American, and she lived in Australia when I first discovered her, made videos from there, and they just covered a wide range of topics. And I thought she was fascinating. I love to follow her. She turns out a video maybe once a week, more often. She used to work for Blaze, Glenn Beck's company, and now she also had a solo channel. Now she's left the Blaze and she's just solo. And unfortunately, she's left the Blaze under difficult circumstances, shall we say. Glenn, right your ship, dude. These other ladies I do not know, except I know that this is Eli, or Ellie, and Eli is a trans woman, so this is a biological male in a female space discussing feminism. Enjoy.
Liz Landers, I'm Vice News' chief political correspondent, and we are here today to talk about some of the biggest issues dividing women across the country. In other words, we're here to talk about feminism. First, I just want to say we know we can't represent everybody's views, but we did try our best to bring together a diverse group of women today. In today's polarized world, is feminism dead? You guys saw your hands.
I think that depends on the definition of feminism. I strongly think that feminism is more of an action than an identity. I wouldn't say it's uplifting all women, in which case it's very alive. At the same time, if we do follow that definition, feminism has splintered off into so many different areas that you can look at people like Sheryl Sandberg who say you should just get another nanny if you feel oppressed. And if we're talking about that kind of feminism, yeah, it's pretty dead.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the human race exists, feminism will never be dead. It's something that we're always going to have to strive and work towards to make sure that there's equality. So feminism is not dead.
I don't know that it can die. As long as there's power and oppression, there will be people fighting for equity. And until that somehow goes away, feminism is alive and well.
I think feminism isn't actually about equality. It's about equality when it benefits us. I think feminism is really about women wanting special privileges and treatment at the expense of men often. And I think it's alive and well, sadly.
I think feminism is also alive and well. There are different kinds of feminism, right? Like, that is obvious. And for me, as a womanist, as a Black feminist, right, as someone who's really thinking about human rights, dignity, right, equity, right, as long as that need isn't met, we're still gonna keep fighting.
I'd say it's alive and well. I'd say that it's also very nuanced, and I think what it looks like is going to differ depending on where you are in the world. For me, I just see it as a lens, which isn't necessarily antagonistic or protagonistic. It's just a useful tool.
Similar to what Pearl just said, I find that a lot of feminist ideology and thought today feels more of like a supremacist movement rather than something that is supposed to be advancing the goals of equality. I don't think that we can really term what's going on as feminism because it looks so different to, I think, the earlier feminist movements. So in that way, I would say it's taken its last breaths of life. It's dying.
Yeah, I definitely think it's getting more and more radicalized, for sure. So it's definitely still alive.
I think I'll preface and say that I don't know so much about modern Western feminism, and there might be a lot of terms that I don't know, like political jargon and stuff. But I believe in the advancement of women, whoever considers themselves a woman. I think there's a deficiency in society. So it's deeply rooted that feminism has always existed. I think America's a little obsessed with themselves, and it's like always feminism is rooted in America. And like, oh, white women started it. And it's kind of offensive because for thousands of years, women have been dying for their rights.
I think as a Black woman specifically, when you talk about feminism, yeah, the mainstream first thing you think about is a certain type of feminism that tends to exclude still, even today, even with intersectional feminism, exclude African American women, and it's always kind of done that. And also, like, upper middle class white women has predominantly been the face of what we quote unquote consider feminism.
I think feminism is attempting to say, okay, the first thing we agree on is that there are barriers and friction to what I need and what I want based on the fact that I'm a woman. What it ignores is that, and what privilege is that you may not have to think that being a woman and being a Black woman and being a Black woman who has a disability, for example, impacts you further. You have more barriers, you have more friction, you are less able to get what you want. You're undervalued in a way that's like, okay, well, you know, that's life. That's what I mean by equity, and that we're able to, without friction, all get the same needs met.
Yeah. Yep.
Notice diversity, equity, inclusion, barriers, friction, oppression. All these are terms, and you want to be able to claim as many of them as you can so you can win the game at the end. The game of power. The more you're a victim, the more power you have because the more grievances you have. Therefore, the more society owes you.
Yeah, see, I disagree with that. I think life is easier if you're a girl. Actually,
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of benefits that men
Watch the room blow up in a couple minutes.
don't have. I'm not going to speak anything to race. I'm just talking about gender specifically. It's usually like an excuse. Like, honestly, I think as a girl, you have equal opportunity in the world. I think there's benefits. Like, for example, we have quotas.
Did you see that face? How dare you stick to just gender?
Or women in specific jobs that are given to us that aren't given to men. So yeah, I would say it's easier being a girl.
Just from a viewpoint over here, though, it seems there's a lot of pretty privilege in what you're saying, and that you're white and you present.
Do you think I'm pretty? Thank you.
I think that you present in a way that beauty standards have accepted, and so
They call me ugly on the internet all the time. They be roasting me daily. I swear to God.
I don't mean to say I think you're gorge. I just mean that there are a certain value that we give to certain bodies.
I mean, let's also dig into why.
See, there we go. But you're pretty, but you're this, but you're that. And we give those people value. Therefore, we undervalue others. And I am oppressed. More oppressed than you.
These quotas exist and why these, what you're calling
because we
privileges
want
exist.
special treatment.
No, but it's because there have historically and presently in most jobs been fewer women. And because of sexism.
How is it
I'm confused. Was that mansplaining?
sexism when we have no barriers today? So we can
Who
pick
has
what we
no
want to
barriers?
pick.
It doesn't have barriers.
Women don't have barriers.
Women, yeah. What's
We have
stopping
no
you? You can do
barriers.
whatever you want. What's
I
stopping
can
you?
or you can.
What's stopping you? As a woman.
As a woman.
See,
That ignores a lot that I'm a woman with a disability. So there's a lot stopping me that you don't have to think about.
Well, as I
You don't
said
have to
before,
think
I'm
about.
speaking about women.
You're speaking for yourself.
You're speaking as an able-bodied woman.
I
That is
understand.
why. Presents why.
Of course, there's going to be other barriers if you're disabled. I'm sure. Like I'm talking about as a woman.
So you're
I
just
would
going to
agree.
ignore
White
the
women have it
yeah.
easier. Yes, I would agree.
Well, since the debate's supposed to be on feminism, yes, maybe you can ignore the other issues in the building and focus on the issues affecting women.
What?
You're just going to ignore the pay gap, regulation over bodies.
Yes, because those are imaginary.
The pay gap doesn't
endlessly,
exist.
my friend.
It doesn't.
That's
It's
so funny.
the industries that women pick.
Let's talk about it.
There's a pay gap, but it's because women don't want to do the hardest industries.
I don't think it's that simple. I think that's an oversimplification. I think the fact of the matter is that women structure their lives differently to men. Men don't give birth. Men don't have to carry pregnancies. Men don't have to be the primary caregiver most of the time. Women also don't hold jobs for as long as men do. They often will stop and start. They'll go back into work. They'll take time off. They'll take part-time jobs. The way that men work and women work are astronomically different. And to try to say that they're comparable is where this issue comes from. They're not comparable.
Two things.
Boom! Sydney Watson levels the first canon of logic and reason.
First of all, let's dig into why they think that they should take these jobs, which is societal sexism, and then also...
Hear that, women? You don't have a choice. Society tells you what to do, including all these women running the world right now. The women in these rooms that will tell you, don't do that. It's not right. It's not what begets the modern feminist. Do what we tell you to do, you'll be much happier, even though studies say you won't.
Actually, Department of Labor, all statistics, at least speaking in the U.S., have found that when compared for the same jobs, there still is a pay gap, particularly when it pertains to race.
Because 60% of women have never asked for a raise. So how can you complain about your pay if you don't ask?
Why are they not asking?
What happens when women ask for a raise?
I've been wanting to say something, but I want to be respectful. I don't want to interrupt people, and I want to let them finish their thoughts.
Jump in, just
But you know,
go
it's
through the
just
wall.
it is a very privileged label, right, to be able to say that you're feminist, right? And I say that because I come from a working class background of Dominican immigrant parents. My mother would not necessarily identify as a feminist. I look to my mother, and I do think of her as a feminist. A lot of my ideas and my empowerment comes from seeing her like survive and put food on the table. When I'm thinking about feminism, I'm always thinking about who's not part of the conversation. What are the barriers? How do we think about equity? How do we think about self-empowerment and agency and having a voice, right? And having choice and thinking about our basic human rights, education, access to health, homes, like having bread, having food, and those things are very important, right? And they're at the crux, right, about of what a lot of us here know that we need. It's like there are the barriers, right, that we constantly ignore that are very much systemic and microaggressive, right? We see them and experience them every day.
Like what in the U.S.?
So,
All right, let's break down that word salad, shall we? Her mother would not identify as a feminist, probably because her mother has some very traditional values. She understands who she is and what she's doing in life, and she's working with probably a husband, or she has worked, don't know the age, don't know the circumstance. But this woman who would not identify as a feminist, probably because they've got their life together. And feminism today is a complaint factory. And we're listening, and you hear this, they can't answer the question of what women can't do. It has to be what a disabled woman can't do, or what a black woman can't do, or and how white women can do this, but other people can't do that. And this is sad, and this is a mess.
what would you like to know an example of?
I know you said that there's like barriers. I want to know what barriers in the U.S. today as a woman.
Well, as a woman or as a woman of color? Let's be specific.
As a woman. I said as a woman.
Well, no.
Because again, this is about feminism, not race.
I can't answer as a woman.
I just feel like your question is kind of hostile when you're like, there are no barriers to what I want. Congratulations. That means you have the privilege where you're not facing any friction, and that's showing, and I feel like it's
I think as an American, you're very privileged. Like,
I'm not ignoring that.
Yes, absolutely true. And you'll get some of these people that agree, and you'll get some people that fight against it. Watch.
Or like a basic level of what, I mean, the feminist movement is when it comes to just being born a woman, right? Physically, pound for pound, we are born as women and we have less lean muscle mass than men. So there are issues of violence and assault and stuff like that. And so therefore, there are policies, there are things to help women physically, like, for example, I believe being able to carry a firearm and being able to use that safely to defend yourself against men who are born naturally with more muscle mass than a woman.
Now, let's take that and break that down for a second. Yes, women do have less muscle mass. Yes, they do have to fear assault from a man. Let's be very clear. Women assault men on a regular basis. They just don't have to pay the consequences. If a guy comes up and we're in a fight and he hits me, I'm going to hit him back. If a girl hits me, I'm not going to hit her because I'll do the time for defending myself hitting a woman unless she's got a knife or a gun. A woman can get upset, and you've all seen it on the internet. You've all seen it on the internet. These women get away with things. And then the moment equal rights become equal lefts, that's the joke, they're all shocked and surprised. How dare you? I'm a woman, don't you understand? And then they'll claim their female privilege. That's the problem with this conversation. They're claiming different privileges. There is no feminism anymore. There is none. Yes, women, you do generally, you have to be more fearful of assault. But statistically, men are more likely to be the victims of crime than women.
I keep hearing the term equity. What would a world that has equity look like? Like, would it be 50% of everyone in the same jobs? Would it be like prison, 50%? That's
equality.
50%. So what does equity look like?
So equity is generally described as a state of...
Now, I want you to follow this definition because equity keeps coming up, right? Everyone has a different idea of what equity looks like for them.
Fairness, because historically a lot of people have been arguing for equality, but what does that give us? Like 0.5 of the 1% being women, this doesn't really do anything for us. And so people have talked about equity instead, which is instead of sameness, it's fairness. And this would mean that we remove systemic barriers to engage in society, not just for women, but also for everyone.
So which barriers?
Okay.
Wow. I just watch this. This is beautiful.
Barriers that you don't believe in.
I don't.
For you to have a bunch of ramps in your life, it doesn't do shit. I need those ramps, right?
Can we stick to male versus female? That's my question. So I'm thinking male versus female.
But my feminism
That's right. Try to stay on topic.
includes ability, it includes
but my
race.
question is,
You
for
guys
women,
can talk.
women versus men. Like what barriers do we need removed? Because that's my statement. I'm not stating anything else. I'm stating women versus men.
It's very silly.
Like so what barrier?
Why
I
is
just
it
want
silly?
to.
Question
It's a
is
fair
silly.
question.
So, yeah, but
It's not a fair question. It's
How is it not a fair question?
You're not proving the point of why what people, especially black women, other people who are anybody.
See, here we go. What is it just about men and women that women lack in terms of rights? They go silent, and then they retreat, and then they change tactic, and it becomes more than just the gender.
Is not why we hear feminism and we don't want that label because it means, I'm just gonna say it means that, like, it means that you've already gone to a pinnacle of whatever you think your happiness needs or whatever your survivalist needs are, when there are people on lower end who are trying to survive, who are trying to get to a point of what should be normal, based on what other people have.
It sort of sounds like you're saying feminism is not always inclusive then.
Right. It's most of the time it's not inclusive.
Feminism has adopted the patriarchy. Welcome to the matriarchy.
It is more times than not. It's not. So and within the just feminism space, again, there obviously the very basic is male versus female versus, but unfortunately we've only had one subset of women be the face and voice and the academics and research and everything to be able to say, well, that's the standard we need to be in, when there are other people who are still trying to get to some type of normalcy and just living.
What is the biggest issue then that feminism faces?
I think it's the mindset. Women taking like the agency, women taking initiative. I think it's mindset holding them back a lot, because if you want to be in a competitive world and compete, you have to have the right mindset. And I think a lot of people blame their lack of confidence or what society tells them for the reason they're not achieving what they need to achieve, when that's not the case. You have to have the mindset of achieving, because the men who built the world had the mindset of building it. So the women who want to engage and build that further, they need to have that same mindset.
I don't think we do. I think it's like assuming that we all want to be capitalist babies.
Right.
I think that men are not
Enter Carlina Marx.
well adjusted in the society, and women are not trying to re-embody what they have built for us. I think that like what we're forgetting is a very important detail, which is just like human respect and dignity.
Yeah,
and not asking people to prove what their experience is and to prove to you. Like, it is like such conservative thinking to say like, I don't understand, explain it to me, versus just saying I don't understand and let me respect what you are saying.
Imagine that. It needs to be about human respect and dignity, but don't be a conservative and ask to understand and to help me understand. Instead, just shut up, bigot.
Respecting wherever your starting point, I'm respecting that. I'm really respecting that. I'm saying that if you don't have the mindset you can even achieve it, you're never going to even try. So it's never...
Achieve what? Like, what are we talking about? Because I feel like you projected this like capitalist ideology on every woman.
Achieve whatever it is you're looking for, equality, equity. But what I'm saying is women in the feminist space and a lot of these other spaces, we don't acknowledge that we have to take the initiative. We have to take the action. We have to have the mindset. We have to demand those things.
I don't understand how we're getting so off topic. This is about feminism today, whereas everybody wants to make this about their individual, here are all the multitude of other things that factor into my person. Great. This is about feminism. It's about womanhood. I understand that all of you have your own individual experiences and the other things that feed into you as a person. That's perfectly fine. But this is where intersectionality falls off the planet and loses, I would argue, probably the vast majority of people, including me. I'm not even a feminist. I don't give a crap about feminists arguing amongst themselves about who's the most victimized. But this is annoying to listen to. I honestly just
Look at that face. Pearl's like, boom, shot number 2 fired across the bow. And Layla was like, go girl.
understand anything anybody's even trying to get at.
Look, I just want to say that I don't think equity and this concept of competition can't coexist with each other. Equity is building more facilities for people who need them. It is recognizing that there are holes in the market and there's opportunities for women and feminine expansive people and meeting those opportunities. I think equity can buoy the pre-existing system that we live in a good way.
And this is where we're going to get to.
And see, look, one woman says, this is what I think of equity, this is what it should be. And the woman says yes, and this woman's going to go no. Because they don't match, and they're in a competition to see who has the most power to get things done their way.
To what I think the real feminist arguments are based off of policy. And abortion is the biggest one.
How many of you would identify as pro-choice? Let's do a show.
All right, this blows me away. I did not expect this show of hands on pro-choice and pro-life.
Show of hands for pro-choice.
I feel like pro-choice is pro-life, though.
Yeah. Okay, and folks who identify as pro-life, why do you identify as each?
And spoilers, those that identify pro-life, wait till they get into guns. Oh.
You've gone from legal, safe, rare to, yeah, I'm so proud, let me beatbox in front of the Planned Parenthood, yeah, I got murder on my mind. The fact that it's celebrated that murdering children, especially in late-term pregnancies, is celebrated, that people are so proud of themselves from mutilating a fetus is just, it blows my mind. And I don't think that you need to be pro-life to even take that stand.
You said late-term pregnancy.
Yes.
A lot of abortions do not happen.
I made the distinction specifically because lots of people still celebrate. There are people who, when the laws were passed actually here in New York, they said, yes, great, yes, I love the fact
but
that...
you need to ask about what are people celebrating, right? They're celebrating access. We're not celebrating killing kids. Like, that's not what it is.
That's an absolute lie. An absolute lie. How long, LDS folk, how long have the conservatives said, we hate abortion? We'll compromise up to a certain point. How long? And the whole reason y'all lost Roe v. Wade on a national level and it became a states issue is because you couldn't hold the compromise, and you kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And there's videos out there of Northam, all these people up to the day of birth, and possibly the baby can be born. We'll keep it warm, and then we'll have the discussion. Those were Northam's words when he was running for office, before he lost to Youngkin in Virginia, right? Colorado, Sodom, or Gomorrah, don't know which one, but up to day of. You're not murdering, and they're going to get into terms here, you're not murdering a zygote, you're not murdering a clump of cells, you're murdering a baby. All your terms, all your arguments go out the window the further you push this. And that's the problem. Well, we want access until... No, and hell no. And by the way, Pearl is a very thoughtful considerer. She's got notes. She does this. Sydney just shoots. And you'll see Layla and Pearl just kind of like, ooh, whenever Sydney says something. Because Sydney says some spicy things here. Sydney just, if she thinks it, she's going to say it. I love that.
This is what I'm saying. Here's the thing. When we're talking about access to reproductive health and to abortion rights, right, and to being pro-choice, listen, that's your body, you do you.
The child is not your body. As I go. A baby.
It's so scary for me to hear people calling like guns the biggest equalizer for women, but taking their choices away from them.
Now, here we go on guns. Wait till you see the reaction of the woman with the bullets for earrings.
At a policy level. Why is that? Having a gun is an equalizer.
It is.
Having rights is an equalizer.
Yeah,
having choice is an equalizer.
Just like a gun right.
And in this country, the policies that are pushed to continue perpetuating patriarchy and anti-women, like taking the autonomy away from women, it is heartbreaking to see women pushing that propaganda.
Now see, there's the socialist. Having rights is the equalizer. As she wants to take away rights. She's going to argue this. She's going to argue for the removal of rights later. like guns. Guns is an equalizer. Ladies, I love you. I teach self-defense. I work at a school. I've got a small business starting up, teaching people self-defense for a living. On general, there's ends to a curve here, right? Ends to a curve. Well, I better do it so the camera can see, but there ends to a curve. I can't get a camera view. In general, women, you can't match up to a man physically in terms of height, weight, muscle mass, bone structure. Guns are the equalizer. Guns are the equalizer. Whether I shoot a gun or you shoot a gun, it has the same effect on the person being shot. I punch somebody, a girl, my wife punches somebody, different results. Guns are the equalizer. Feminists, guns are an equalizer.
Oh, brainwash. Like you.
Oh, it's brainwash because you don't agree with me.
No, I've been brainwashed. I have lived deeply institutionalized.
Man,
I have lived under Islam.
I'm not interested in any of that. Like, there's no like.
You're not interested in memes?
No, I'm not interested in like
living,
thinking that like women are doing this really bad thing. Like in my religion, abortion is actually allowed. If the woman needs it, she's allowed, because you know it's very interesting how like fundamental America is. Like fundamentalist.
This is nothing to
very,
do
very
with
like
even religion. This is very
conservative
basic
thinking.
scientific human rights.
We're also talking about people not having access to abortion clinics where they're doing the things themselves and they die. Right? We're also talking about...
That is an urban myth. That is not widely done. That... Coat hangers never was a thing, never will be a thing.
Women in the hospital who are pregnant, who have chosen to stay with their pregnancy and have issues at hospitals, and hospitals that are like, oh no, we don't do that. Listen.
That's a lie. If issues arise, the doctors will work to save the mother and the baby, and if it comes down to an either or, they'll give you the choice. And nobody has a problem with that. Nobody has a problem with that. Also, how far along in the pregnancy are you? There's always the question, and this is never brought up. Matt Walsh did great with this in previous videos. Michael Knowles, those guys from Daily Wire, Crowder, everyone. Viability. Why, if you're going to have some procedure done and you don't want the baby, if it's viable, why kill it? If it can survive outside the womb, why not have it delivered or C-sected or whatever you want to do? But if you're going to go through this invasive, why? Because it does come down to murder. It does come down to murder. You're a...
For whatever reason, you don't need to explain it to anybody, but a lot of times when we're talking about access to reproductive health, for me, I'm thinking about Black, Indigenous, people of color, particularly women and girls who are working class, who do not have even access to like proper sexual education.
Who doesn't have access? Who? I live in South Dakota. Just outside, not far away, Pine Ridge Reservation. They have medical care on site for them. There's your indigenous. Anybody can walk into a clinic and get a condom and a talk. You can pick up pamphlets. You can... Junior high, high school. Hell, my daughter in 5th grade had a health class about reproduction. They split the boys and the girls up. This was that kind of... My wife was like, yeah, no, this is good. And I'm like, cool. That's the kind of thing. I let my wife like, yeah, you handle it. No.
It's the oppressive state of saying, I will force you to have a child even against your own will, right? Especially when you're thinking about women and girls who would be forced to have these children, who are already living in very traumatized and scarce situations. You want to ask about barriers? That's a barrier right there.
Women in poverty aren't able to access the way that rich women are, and no matter what happens, rich women are gonna keep getting abortions.
That's a class issue. Rich men have better access to health care than other men do, too. That's not a feminist issue. It's a class issue.
People in poverty are gonna not. And the choice, opening it up, the overruling is marginally affecting people of color, people in poverty, way more than people who are going to get access to those abortions.
Actually,
anyway.
Incorrect. You're there's actually more abortions for people in poverty. It's just at a lower rate.
Isn't it bullshit that some companies...
Why do you think that abortion has been so tied up in this feminism conversation?
It's all just social structure set up around bodies. So if not all women are able to have babies, but it's about the barriers and value that we give to these specific bodies, right? And so if abortion happens in a woman's body, that's why this conversation is coming up.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You said that not all women are able to have babies or pregnancies. Are you...
I wonder if anyone looked at the lady with the white hair when they said this.
saying, meaning like an infertility issue?
A number of reasons. There's all kinds of reasons that not all women are having babies.
Pearl, I saw your hand up. Yeah.
I think women want to sleep around and not have any consequence for it.
Now she's just trying to shoot shots across the bow like Sydney does. Boom goes the cannon. And look at Layla here. She's looking down, laughing. And watch some of these other women.
Hell yeah, we do.
Yeah! Yeah, instead of, taking personal accountability and being on birth control, they just want to, do whatever they want.
Deep breath.
You say this like it's a bad thing.
Yeah. It almost sounds like you said...
Can I also ask, do you have any care to empower women, or is disempowering women part of your, steez?
This is shame, insult, guilt, need to be right. Okay. Why is it empowering to sleep around?
No,
Why
what
is
I'm
it
saying is,
empowering?
I feel like you do, take, the way you speak on women is very sort of women just don't want to do this. Women just don't have this. Women just wanted this. And I wonder why you have so much, hatred towards women.
I don't hate women.
Self-loathing misogynist, Pearl. Look at this. It's, how dare you bring up an idea other than debauchery and free sex? How dare you propose something different? It's not like Pearl saying no one should ever sleep around. She's just saying, why can't we talk about celibacy? Why can't we talk about monogamy? And you don't dare have an idea out of what the woke scold left has already approved. Look at how angry she is.
What does that root in? It sounds like you do.
I am a woman.
That doesn't mean you don't have self-hate.
I could be black and still be internalized racism.
Exactly. I'm saying specific things that you're saying.
Look at Sydney. Sydney's just like, this is the problem with conservatives. We shut up. But at the same time, Sydney knows, oh yeah, here it goes. Grenade's in. Boom. Pearl's tossed the grenade this time.
Saying, women don't want to work, women don't want to this, women want to sleep around. Where did you learn these belief systems from?
Because, the question was...
It's called observation of the real world. And it's not that women don't want to work. The whole pay gap thing was about what women choose to do for work and when and how. It is markedly different from what men do.
Why does abortion keep getting brought up? 40% of women that have had abortions have had 2 or more. 40%. Good for them. So what does that say to me? That means you're using it as a form of...
Good for them, she says. That shows you her moral state.
Birth control. And they don't track the 60%.
What kind of abortion?
Can you let me finish? They don't track the 60% to say who in the future has abortion. So to me, it's why are they dying so hard for abortion? They want to sleep around with no consequences, even though you have 41 forms of birth control.
Who does that benefit? I don't think that benefits women. I think actually that benefits men, because it means that men can have sex with you without consequence. It means that you can sleep with whoever you feel like. Great, but there are consequences because women are the ones who get pregnant and carry babies and give birth.
It's very binary version of
yes,
sex.
because sex is binary.
But that's what it is. Oh, The erosion of traditional values, the knowledge that comes from traditional wisdom, handed down wisdom from the ages. Men are pigs. We will... I can't put it... It's women are the gatekeepers. They're controllers. When women make themselves available to anyone and everyone, no one will respect them, and men will have very little use for them. When we have a child, we want to know the child is ours. We want to know that the woman we're with is devoted to us as we are to them. We're married, we go to work, we go do a job, we come home. We just want to know that we're in a stable relationship. These women are undermining all of that. As a man, these women do not value themselves. I don't care if this Kim Jong-un over here with the socialist wannabe with the victory medals that she's notched up. I don't care if she's labeling Pearl and Sydney and Layla and whoever else self-hating, self-loathing, misogynist victims of the patriarchal, white supremacist nature of America. These women hate themselves, and so they open themselves up to every form of degradation. And then they wonder when they're a little older why no one wants them. That's the sad state of feminism. That's the sad state of everything going around. Women want to notch out the body count. And Sydney's about to call that out, just as Pearl's already been doing. And you see Layla over here like, yep. She knows, she understands. These women value traditional wisdom and knowledge because it has served a purpose for millennia.
But please let me finish my point. Oh, God. It's tricking women into thinking that aborting a pregnancy, terminating pregnancy, is something to be celebrated, when in reality, for a lot of women, especially those who are doing it under duress, say that they've been raped, or that, in the small circumstances where something really traumatic has happened to them, that's a medical decision. Or say that they're miscarrying and then they have to, have an assisted termination. That's a medical procedure. It's not a celebration of, oh, look at the...
See, that's wonderfully stated. The fetus is under duress, not going to survive, abortion. Mother's under duress, not going to survive, choice of abort or carry through. If it's viable, carry through. Or have the child in some way, C-section or... These are medical decisions. These then are not abortions in the sense that conservatives find reprehensible, immoral, and repugnant. These are medical necessities that do take place on occasion. But these women want it. Did you see the celebration of the 40% that have more than one? That is disgusting.
The sort of like moral setting of that it needs to be rare is... I think the delineation between that's a medical abortion and that's like a fun abortion is really interesting because they're all medical. It's all a medical procedure.
It may be a medical procedure, but the cause and the requirement for it is not.
Procedure. And so no matter what you're doing, going in there and getting it, like it's not like, oh, you're only allowed 2. It's just like you should just be able to get a medical procedure done when it's something that you need done.
We shouldn't be desensitized.
Free healthcare for all. I want a medical procedure. I'm going to go get it done.
Ties to taking someone's life. That should never be an empowering factor for a woman.
I definitely agree in that, like, there should be no absolute thing any woman should do. There should not be an absolute response to incest or rape or any of these things. Every woman should have the choice of if they want to or not want to carry that child, whether it is having fun, getting raped, incest, whatever it is. I don't glorify and glamorize abortion. I think it's a very...
Rape and incest together account for still less than 1%.
traumatic thing. I doubt that if somebody has to do, like, if they have to do it, they'll do it. I don't think that people are like, doing like have 6, get the 7th free and having fun with it. And I think that like glamorization and glorification of any side is not okay.
Did the Dobbs decision make anybody here sort of rethink abortion, abortion access, reproductive health care.
It's anti-woman, right? It's it does not center people to have that voice for themselves and their own decisions, right?
No. So when you live in the state whose values mirror your own, it's wrong for the state to be able to say no. I live in South Dakota. When Dobbs came down, the state said no. This is so large a conservative state. Everyone's happy with that decision. Like, not absolute everyone 100% happy, but they're happy. Sorry, family emergency. I'm just going to hit play on the video and see if I can remember where we're at.
It is a barrier, right?
Oh,
It's giving
healthcare.
It's giving more agency to women because it's moving it back to the state level. So locally,
But why would the state have
locally the women
tell me what to do? Because
locally
it
the
doesn't
women
also choose
have
the
that
different
power.
areas. If you take out the viewpoint that life begins at conception, which is a really big defining principle for both the pro-life crowd, who very, very, vehemently believe that, and then obviously a lot of the pro-choice crowd do not believe that. Taking that out of the equation, you do not have just whatever kind of autonomy you want as a person. It's regardless of male or female. You can't just have free run to do whatever the hell you want. That's not how society operates.
So at no point do I have the right to tell anyone in this room what they should or should not do with their bodies.
But it's not about your body. It's not about
me respecting the question here.
It's not about your body. It's about the kid's body. I don't care what you do with your body.
It's my body, right? We're talking about my body.
You're talking
We're
about
not.
Jordan, I saw your hand creep up.
The Dobbs decision for me reinforced how important it is that we approach these issues from a cultural perspective, because it reinforces something that I have told many of my colleagues and peers in the past, which is that so long as you lack a cultural consensus, any issue can become a political football that can be decided by another election cycle.
I think that's an incredibly astute take. All these cultural decisions, and that's the problem with the country right now, is we're so culturally divided, right? Our moral standards, our intellectual rights, And the thing with the abortion is, as Sydney tried to point out, as Pearl's tried to point out, it's more than just your body. It's the body of the baby. And yeah, some of these girls will snicker and call it fetus, zygote, cells. Same thing.
And so long as there is no strong consensus, I would expect this to be our reality going forward. These extremely vitriolic and aggressive conversations until there's another miraculous consensus that brought about Roe v. Wade. But what it more or less reinforced for me is that we're going to have more
So Black Lives Matter
conversations.
I want to talk about transgender issues. Should trans women be feminist conversations? How about in women's spaces?
Yeah.
Did you see the silver hair applaud? This is right up his alley.
Yes, they're women. What's the question?
Pearl, I
Trans
see your
women
hand.
are women.
So I want to come at this from the position of an athlete.
Oh, Jesus.
So I play semi-pro basketball.
Listen to that. How dare you bring some logic into this, you bigot.
Semi-pro volleyball. So when it comes to like athletic spaces, I don't think that trans women should be allowed into athletic spaces because I don't think it's a fair. I think we, as female athletes, we work so incredibly hard for the little opportunity there is in women's sports.
Would this be a barrier for you?
There's no barrier. There's less opportunity in some industries.
That's what a barrier is.
There's less. It's not. No. It's based on the market.
means.
Okay.
Hold on, guys.
Okay. So again, we work very hard for the little opportunity there is in the space. Because we're not as entertaining as the men. Sorry, we're just not. And so it's like you're gonna take the little opportunity that we're given. And the problem is, like, we can't compete. We can't. Like, I'm 6 foot. If I go up against a 6 foot guy and I play basketball with him, he's gonna body me.
And what happens if I go up against you?
Even if I have.
See, here we go. But if I played against you, you would. But that's the difference between women themselves. Just as there are differences between men themselves. There's a reason I'm not in the NBA. They miss the point. They just think anybody can compete. And if a man thinks he's a woman, a la Leah Thomas,
years more of training. And so it's like you're taking away the little opportunity that we're given and we all work so hard for, and you're just giving it back to biological guys. It's like this will be the end of women's sports.
Have you tried confidence?
Eli, hold on a minute.
Sorry,
Eli.
confidence can't make me bench what a guy benches.
I don't
Confidence
understand
can't make
why
me
you guys
6'7".
are so hostile. She's sharing her
And confidence
experience
can't make
in
me
a
6'7".
specific
No, she's
field.
sharing
And I'd have to go.
No, she's not. She's a woman who's had an experience.
This is astounding. Listen to this. You are not allowed to think outside of what the group thinks. That's what this is coming down to. If you disagree, it's internalized misogyny.
You guys are so obsessed with your own experiences and your own existence, and yet when a woman is sitting here telling you, I feel as though this is unfair and this is compromising and the situation is not helping women, you guys are like, meh, meh, meh. But when you're like, I'm a black person that did this, 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 and this, then it's valid and fair and viable.
Eli, I want to give you the chance to respond.
So this is basically a joke of a talking point. Everyone has biological advantages in sports. How tall are you?
5'11" and a half. I'm tall.
I'm 5'8". I am a trans woman. You would crush me. You would absolutely crush
Bone
me.
density, wrist strength, muscle density, you can't switch those.
Yeah, exactly. You would crush me.
But also, Eli, you would never play at the level that Pearl plays because you would never get there.
So let me give you a few more examples here too. So Michael Phelps produced more lactic acid in his body, which caused him to swim better than any of his competitors. This was widely celebrated, and nobody contested it. Now, this is a performance-enhancing hormone. So we all have different bodies, and now I'm not.
Lactic acid is not a performance-enhancing hormone. Lactic acid is produced from muscle burn. I used to try and fight for a living. I know about working out. Might not show now. Hey, it's been 20 years since I've stepped foot in the ring, but when you lift weights, you know that big pump you feel? That's the blood flow, because when you lift weights, you're stretching the contraction. You're breaking your muscle down. Blood's flowing to fix it. Lactic acid is the result. And that's that muscle soreness you feel the next day. The more acid produced is a result of more muscle broken down. And then his body works over hard to recover. That's the point. He's breaking down more muscle than a woman is going to because he has more muscle. He's coming into this as a man at an advantage. Women generally will fit into certain parameters with themselves more easily than they'll fit into the same parameters of muscle and bone than they will with men. There are women out there that will lift more than I can lift. Would I want to step in the ring with Ronda Rousey, Gina Carano? No. But if I do, I still, at the low level, have a pretty good chance of beating them. They're at the high level of their sport. They step into the ring with a man at the same level, they're going to get rolled and crushed and destroyed. Serena Williams, world's greatest tennis player, lost warm-up sets to a guy ranked like 400 or whatever it was. Come on. You've got your heads in the club. And you're like, but I might be a biological man, but I'm a trans woman now, and I'm smaller than you. You'd roll me. It's because you're going out of your way. Because look at you. Look at you. But even the way you're built, you still have boy muscle. That's the problem. Right now, you're built like a boy. And you've done things to your body so you'll never progress beyond boy. If you were to put to it, you would still be able to match her and overcome her.
I'm not saying that trans women who aren't on hormones should participate, but there are, every major medical and every major sports organization agrees that trans women who have been on hormones for between 1 and 3 years, depending on the organization, have the same competitive ability.
Those hormones do nothing about pre-developed muscle structure and bone mass. Those hormones just mean you're not currently producing the testosterone because you're being inhibited due to the female hormones you're taking and the testosterone blockers. Stop it. You're a liar.
the study that you're referencing had like 7 people participated.
That's misinformation, by the way. I'm referencing several different studies. I'm a trans woman and a researcher.
It's getting personal. I don't want it to be
personal. A lot of us
personal.
live in this space where we're told that our opinions don't count because they're not the right kind of opinions, and we're constantly shouted over and talked over, regardless of what we look like, because there's one group in society that basically takes precedence, and it's frustrating. So yeah, of course, it's frustrating.
And there you go. When in doubt, shout down. Or in this case, laugh it off, you hysterical hyena.
Because when we try to talk about it, we get shouted down, we get told to be quiet, we get spoken down too as well. So there's hostility there for plenty of women.
Let's try to make this an opportunity to speak.
You're literally a white woman from Australia. You live in a bubble and you're pissed that voices that have been silenced forever finally can be heard.
That's why they have the voice, because they speak up.
Boom!
Okay, we're having a conversation about transgender women participating in sports, and I wanted to allow more people to participate. Jordan, I wanted to hear from you.
So I am not a professional athlete. The closest thing I have ever done to anything athletic was I used to do competitive show choir when I was younger. And I don't feel really qualified to make carte blanche statements about whether or not trans women should compete in every kind of sport. And I understand that that is kind of, that's a hard pill to swallow. And for me, my first inclination is to approach everything through a lens of inclusivity. But at the same time, I also can't speak accurately to every kind of sport and the different things that go into it. So I really think in these instances, the decisions are best left up to the professional governing bodies that dictate these particular sports.
I just feel like in places, as an ally, in places where there's no understanding, we can just respect and not really, like, our opinions don't fucking matter.
Eli, I saw you nodding your head over there.
Several times. This is more than about sports. This is about free and equal participation for transgender people in social life. And the right sees this as a socially acceptable way to begin to remove trans people from different engagements in our society. So it does just start with sports or bathrooms or locker rooms, something that they find is more acceptable. And then at this point, they start to move into education, getting trans teachers fired, banning trans books.
Because of how you're approaching your students in the classroom. Because of what you're doing with your books in school libraries and in school curriculum. You're disingenuous and you're a liar.
This is a route that is very effective because it's seen as more acceptable. But it's also overlooking a lot of major details. Like, I mean, do y'all know how many trans women have won national titles?
One too many.
One. Leah Thomas is the only one.
Too many.
And Leah Thomas is not a trans woman. She's a gynophiliac. That's come out in the news recently. Not going to go into it. It's not a trans issue. She just decided to play swim in women's swimming pools while engaging in a fetish.
If women's sports were actually going to end in some way, I mean, that's just not happening. Wouldn't you think there would be more trans women in sports when the majority of states do allow trans women full participation? International titles, 0. No global titles have ever been won by...
Because you're not competing in them right now. A woman on the New Zealand powerlifting team lost her spot to a biological male. High school athletes are being left off teams because biological males are qualifying for scholarships that would have been made available to them. All right, there's a lawsuit in those girls in Connecticut, I think. I'm sorry, you're lying all the way through.
I'm here at our beautiful...
I want to talk about Me Too and sort of this social movement that we're living through right now. What is the state of feminism sort of in this post-Me Too era?
We're in post Me Too.
All right.
Tell me.
Sorry, I got distracted by the Me Too part. So I was like, we're in post Me Too? Wow, like, no one's getting, like, sexually harassed anymore. Like,
We did it, guys. We so.
What would you care? You're fine with being out there like a dude and throwing it around.
of the problem, aren't that world? No, I think obviously the state of feminism is very much reflected right in this room, but Me Too for me, right, in a particular context, means something for different people. It's a different experience.
See, and this is where I'm actually going to stop the recording. They get into Me Too, they get into a couple other things. There's only a few minutes left. But you see what it keeps coming down to? It's not about women anymore. It's about the intersexual minority. And the more intersectionalized you can be, the more you're going to win. The more you're oppressed, the more you win. This has just become a show trial. And what you do see here, you do see a clear contrast of people with moral values versus people who have given themselves up to heathenism and hedonism. They don't want to be told they can't do something. They don't want to be told that they shouldn't even do something. They want to be told that the world is theirs, but they still want, like Pearl said earlier, they still want the benefits. The last feminism video, I promise. But this is the sad state of Western culture right here. You're looking at its face right there. This lady was laughing down someone with a value they didn't like. They're calling people bigots. They're calling people phobes. If they don't like you, they're just going to label you. And then they'll shout you down. And if they can't shout you down, they will shut you down. These are the people that, forgive me, when the church says we respect the rights of, no, we're not often talking about rights. Yes, we respect the rights of women to lead their lives, but we're still going to teach traditional values. That's what Elder Packer was talking about. You first teach them the gospel. Then you give them commandments. Because until they know what the gospel is, they don't know how to live it. They don't know why they should live it in a certain way. And you see this handful of women that are standing up for morality and right. And God bless those people. And you women watching this video, God bless you for standing up. God bless you for holding to your values. God bless you for your challenges. I'm not going to say you have life easy. I'm of the opinion, though, that nobody has it easy. I don't care your color. I don't care your height. I don't care your weight. I don't care your gender. I don't care anything. Nobody has it easy all the time. Very few people have it easy some of the time. When we're lucky, we get breaks and life is nice. But feminism's dead, folks. Feminism is now the intersectional cult of, I'm going to find other oppression labels and add it to the term woman. And call myself this version, insert blank feminist. Because then I have more points in the oppression Olympics. And I can come out ahead. I tell you what, because you white women, all you got is, you're not a white man. Man, if you happen to be a gay white woman, you go. If you happen to be a gay white woman missing a leg or an arm, congratulations, you're moving on up that ladder. This is the problem with diversity, equity, and inclusion, is it's the creation of ites. And they use the word inclusion, and do you get the feeling that they don't know what the word means? Because they're sure quick to cut out and exclude anyone who does not think the way they do or fit certain parameters. First exclusion, conservative thinkers. Second exclusion, color, race, religion, capitalist. What are they going to cut out next? What's going to be the next one? So that they can keep creating new hierarchies. But their hierarchies are based on woe is me rather than ability. Brothers and sisters, that's it for the night. 2 long videos. I am so sorry. But if you liked it, like it. If you didn't like it, I'm sorry. If you think this is helpful to someone out there struggling with these issues, share it, because it's going to keep coming. We're going to keep talking about it. I love you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Peace out.